Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me today, no, there's nobody. Charlie is on vacation. Kelly unable to join, JP unable to join. So I said, you know who's going to be my co-host today? Every one of you. I took to social media. I took to the Die Hard Discord, asked for mailbag questions, and that's what we're going to be getting into today on PHLY Flyers. I am flying solo on this one today. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've got to do something like this. I'm just going to get to interact with all the people who ask questions. We'll see. I'll see if I can respond to the chat. I don't always pay the best attention to it, but I see the Bill Solo sounds like a background Star Wars character. That's you think his name was really Han? Like, I doubt it, you know? No, it's going to be fun today. So I just kind of want to get into the mailbag. Obviously, the super chats I will respond to. I try to pay attention to the chat, but it's just me here. I'll see what I can do. But I just wanted to start today. I asked, what do people want to talk about? Let's get the questions coming in. I'm in a good mix of fun stuff, hockey stuff, whatever. And the first one I'm going to talk about is from Doofy. That's right. I like the Twitter handle. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but it's Officer Doofy there in the picture. He says he wants to talk about pure Michkov speculation. I want to do nothing else but shout it into the abyss in hopes to create an echo chamber of madness. And it's not like we've had anything new on the Matvei Michkov front lately. Obviously, we all saw him deadlifting in the Flyers shirt. That sent Flyers social media into an uproar. We saw the DMs, the alleged DMs with his trainer. Hey, is he coming over? And the guy said, yeah, I hope so. Like, oh, well, that means he's coming. But the thing I wanted to take this into is the IIHF ruling that came down on Ivan Fedotov. Some even more punishment for his KHL team. And for Fedotov, he's banned from some international play for the next couple of years because of his involvement in the basically disregarding the standard player contract he had with the Flyers when he stayed over in Russia. I mean, I don't really know how he can be held accountable for that one, considering, what's going on in Russia, what Russia is. But you see the Russian Hockey Federation, I believe, is being fined and all that. And I'll tell you, I just hope that the Flyers, through whatever back channeling got the Fedotov deal eventually done, is also, hey man, this ain't on us. The IIHF, this has nothing to do with us. We're cool. We have Fedotov now. It is what it is. We're paying him. He's got a contract here. And don't hold this against us or Michkov. That's what I really hope whatever back channeling the Flyers, Comcast, whoever are doing with Russia in regards to whether Michkov can come over this year, next year, or at the expiration of his 3-year contract. Man, I sure hope it's this year. I just hope there's some sort of communication like, hey man, we have nothing to do with this. We're good. Go Russia, That's what I hope the Flyers front office, and I'm talking purely in terms of hockey, but just kind of backing off and saying, this has nothing to do with us. Do not hold it against Michkov. Do not hold it against the Flyers. we had nothing to do with the IIHF in this ruling. That's their own thing, and that's that. Like, I just hope they're washing their hands of the Fedotov situation, just being like, hey, man, it's all over now. We have him, and we hope to have Matvei Michkov sooner rather than later, but that's between the KHL, his club's owner, him, his agent, whatever. We're not going to be pushing any buttons here. So that's kind of where I wanted to take Doofy's question, because the Michkov speculation, man, what's today, May 13th. We heard we might find out about if he can come over this year, June 30th. It just feels like a long, long time. That's, what's the draft? The 28th and 29th, I think, of June. Maybe we find out on those days. Maybe we get a little hint on those days. Maybe it shapes what the Flyers are going to do at the draft in terms of trades, whatever it might be. But all we can do is hope, right? All we can do is hope Michkov's coming over. I'm choosing. I've said all along, I said this to Charlie last week, hoping for sunshine, preparing for rain, though. Not going to let myself get my hopes up over this sort of thing. Nah, my hopes are up. And it's based on nothing other than all the same bullshit that you guys have seen. Like, because I want it to be true, I'm believing that we're going to get Michkov this summer and everything's going to be accelerated. But again, it's based on nothing more than what everyone else has seen. So that's the Michkov speculation part of today's show. I'm going to say Matvei Michkov just enough to get this algorithm going. Maybe push us to the top of the search results here at PHLY Flyers. If I say Matvei Michkov enough times, hopefully people Googling all his highlights just end up watching this show. We go to the first question from Mike Y. He had a few questions that we're hopefully going to get to today, but this first one is something I've talked about over the last few shows. I'm not really sure. He asks, do you think they're really going into next season with Ersson and Fedotov as the goalie tandem? And I've said I would like to see them get a third goalie, especially the way they managed the roster this year. You just look at there's just a lot of space being taken up, whether it's Cam Atkinson, whether it's Nick Delorier not playing a ton, whether it's they like having a seventh defenseman around, whether to play him or just kind of be a veteran, break glass in case of emergency kind of guy. I gotta believe you can find these dudes on waivers. You can call them up from the AHL. Like, yeah, having a veteran like Eric Johnson or Mark Stahl around, I guess, is nice. Also, remember, like, Victor Mete and Louis Belpedio, they were totally fine in that role. Like, if they're going to be the sixth or seventh defenseman, just have them go back and forth between Lehigh Valley. I'd rather carry a third goalie, a veteran goalie who, say one guy goes down, you're not totally depending on Ersson or Fedotov for a couple weeks at a time the way they did after the Carter Hart situation unfolded. It was just like, yeah, well, Peterson and Sandstrom both stink, so we're going to start Ersson every single game. And that ultimately led to what we saw out of Ersson down the stretch, where he was just totally gassed. I would like to see them add a third goalie, even if it's a dude who doesn't play all that much, a veteran who doesn't need 30 starts, something like that. That said, man, they are paying Fedotov a pretty considerable amount of money. Now, they're not paying Ersson really anything. His contract extension, Danny Briere signed him to at the beginning of last season, kicks in this year. It's well under $2 million. But Fedotov getting over $3 million, how much money do you want tied up in the goaltending? The Flyers have less cap space than you think. We'll see how they handle the Cam Atkinson situation. Is it going to be a buyout where you extend his cap hit a little bit into next season just to move on and give him a chance to be a free agent and continue his career elsewhere? Are you able to maybe cover 50% of his salary, maybe use a mid to late round draft pick to offer to a middle team, play a middleman, kind of like the Flyers did in the Hannafin trade, where that team then covers like another 25%. So the team that ultimately acquires Cam Atkinson only gets him at like a quarter of the cost. Maybe then he'd be attractive to some teams. But there's a lot of cap maneuvering that's going to need to go on perhaps if they're going to bring in someone else as well, whether it's another star, hopefully to play with Michkov, whether it's just a center, someone who can run the power play, a defenseman, whatever it might be, I just don't know if they want to allocate that kind of cap space to a third goalie if they're going to make other moves, corresponding moves this offseason. Now, if there are subtractions, like I think there might be, you look at Ristolainen, you look at Scott Laughton, well, there's $8 million, more than $8 million between those guys. All of a sudden, you're talking about a little bit more wiggle room where you could add a third goalie. But my gut right now is they're going to go with these two. Maybe that changes. We'll see perhaps in training camp, preseason, you just watch them and go, ooh, we can't do this. We can't go with just these two guys. Maybe there's a trade. Maybe they scour the waiver wire for a veteran goalie that another team just doesn't feel the need to carry. Maybe they're hoping to sneak somebody through waivers. Flyers jump there. But as much as I thought I wanted them to go out and get a third goaltender, I think it's going to be these two guys. It might not be the smartest idea. You just have no idea what Ivan Fedotov is. But you didn't go through all this with him, and you didn't pay him all that money not to find out what he is. So perhaps they're going to do that. And I appreciate all the love, the Bill Solo stuff in the comments. I appreciate it. Yeah, I do think it's going to be Ersson and Fedotov. Do they finish the season with those two? That's a different question. It's unlikely. I mean, it's the goaltending position. Any tweak can cost a guy a couple of weeks, and it's the Flyers. Let us not forget, this is the Flyers we're talking about. Shit goes wrong, especially with goaltenders. So I would assume we see another goalie, but maybe it's, Cal Peterson. We're just going to give that another try. Hey, man, he's under contract. He's making like $5 million. We're going to give it a shot. That's what it is next year if somebody gets hurt. But I'm starting to think less and less it's going to be a third goalie. This next question from Andrew Widmeier. I really like this one. I think it's fun. You get to add one additional skill to any Flyers player. For example, shot accuracy to Owen Tippett or straight line speed to Tyson Forster. What is the skill and who are you giving it to? Also, what is that player's new ceiling? I talked about last week, I think with JP, putting Owen Tippett on the penalty kill. And I don't know I don't know if this is one skill, but it would just be giving Owen Tippett the ability to play center. I don't want to simplify it. That's the word, not symbolize. I don't want to simplify it so much as to just be like, oh, let him be awesome at face-offs. Like, there's way more to playing center than face-offs. There's the defensive responsibility, just overall hockey IQ. Maybe that's what it is for Owen Tippett. Like, if we're going into his sliders in NHL, right, we're just going to bump up the hockey IQ a bit. Maybe that's what it is. But if Owen Tippett, with his speed, we've seen the puck skill that he does have. He doesn't flash it all the time, but I think he's a better puck carrier than he gets, better puck protector than he gets credit for. We see the size. He can get down low. Obviously, with the speed, he can win races. If we were maybe to add some hockey IQ for Owen Tippett in terms of playmaking, the best shots, how to get himself in position to score more, if he could play center, man, that would be huge. Obviously, straight line speed for Tyson Forster. I mean, suddenly he would be he would be a weapon. Can we just add like health to Sean Couturier? Like, what if it was just health? Are we able to bump that up, just like durability to him or even Jamie Drysdale? Because maybe that's the biggest question about Drysdale right now. Can he take the beating? It wasn't a question, but it was a comment I got from somebody like, do I believe Drysdale can like hold up in the playoffs? And while there are questions about his durability and a lot of people relate that to size, one, the thing Charlie always says is like, well, Rasmus Ristolainen's huge and he's hurt all the time. So, like, size doesn't necessarily equate to, like, toughness or ability to stay healthy. Jamie Drysdale is roughly the same size as Kimmo Timonen. He's about an inch taller, maybe 9 pounds lighter, according to Hockey Reference. Like, if he just kind of, he's what, 21 or so? If he just kind of grows into his man body, like, he's going to be the same size as Kimmo Timonen. I don't think anyone out there would say Kimmo Timonen wasn't tough. You could say maybe he wasn't a number one defenseman. He was an excellent second pair guy, kind of a top pair guy that you put on, kind of anchor that second pair with Braden Coburn. So you're able to play somebody else with Chris Pronger. Like, whatever you want to say about Timonen, ain't nobody out there would say he wasn't built for the playoffs or he wasn't tough. And maybe it's just a little bit of experience that you need to give Drysdale, but I don't think just size alone determines that about guys. So that's something I would think about. But I just see Owen Tippett, like, he's got so much raw ability. If I could just add a thing or two to his game, whatever it would take to get him to play center, I think is the answer I'm going here with for Andrew. Like, just bump that hockey IQ, bump that playmaking, whatever it is. Make him a viable center because it fills a hole. The Flyers have no centers. There's Sean Couturier. We'll see. We'll see about his health. We'll see about his durability. There's Morgan Frost, who I like. He's a fine player, but he's not a difference maker of any kind. Owen Tippett at center, I think his ceiling would suddenly be, I don't know about 1C, but certainly an excellent top six, maybe second line center or borderline first. But I think that's the answer to me, because you see the size, the speed, the shot. If he was had something a little extra there. But thanks for the question, Andrew. And this is something I did want to get to because I think it's hilarious. We're going to go to your boy Phil. Your boy Phil asks, theories linking Charlie and Dr. Evil Gritty. Now, this is something that's very, very funny I didn't even notice you did this, Brent. Both of the pictures at the top are me. That's very funny. I did not, that's good stuff. Brendan is absolutely the best producer. Now, theories linking Charlie to Dr. Evil Gritty. Listen, this is a hilarious bit. And whoever is behind the Dr. Evil Gritty account, I find freaking hilarious. I wish I was as good at social media as that person is. One of the last things that I saw them do was like showing their like little sign-in area on their account, like on their profile page, and like showing the other profile is a picture of Charlie to lead people to believe like it's actually Charlie. Like, the whole thing is so goddamn funny. It's not him. Like, Charlie and I have worked together for a long, long time. And like, this is exactly what the person doing it would say. I get it. Like, no one's going to believe this. Dr. Evil Gritty is not Charlie. And he wants that known because while I find Dr. Evil Gritty purely freaking hysterical, he or she, whatever, does say some shit that, like, Charlie has to have relationships with the organization and players. And if they thought it was him, it would greatly hinder his ability to do the job. Now, again, this is going to lead to even further speculation. I get it. He would tell me. I truly believe Charlie and I have a close enough relationship that he would tell me if he was spending his free time not, tracking games as he does and recording his own zone entry stats and doing all this shit he does to make himself the number one hockey beat reporter and analyst in this city. Charlie is by far, I think, the best game analyst we have. Maybe him and Al Morganti, but I think Charlie, just no one is better than him. If I thought he was spending his free time running a parody account rather than like doing all that shit I know he does, it's just, I don't think it's possible. I don't think the time commitment would be possible for him given all his other responsibilities. Like, it would be much more likely it's me. I have way more time on my hands than Charlie does. Like, I do this. Charlie does like 9 things. But I'm you all, I've been doing this a long time. Like I was on the air at WIP. I'm here. I was Broad Street Hockey. I've been in the space a long time. I'm not at 10,000 Twitter followers yet. Like I'm clearly not that good at social media. So, yeah, like Dr. Evil Gritty blows me away in terms of knowing what's funny on Twitter. So, it's not Charlie. I'll tell you that though. You know what is awesome? It's our friends at Mortgage CS. As I try to. Normally, when I'm preparing for the reads, I can just like, all right, Charlie. He knows when I'm looking down, I'm like getting stuff ready, so he can just go on for a minute while I make sure to get myself prepared here. But you know what I have to tell you about Mortgage CS. They've been our presenting sponsor for a while now. They were all through the season. We love our friends at Mortgage CS, and when we got to meet with them earlier in the season, it was just a real reminder of the type of community that they want to serve. They want to build and serve the community right here in the Philadelphia area. But I want to take a minute to tell you about specifically the competitive rates at Mortgage CS. They're an independent mortgage broker based right here in Philadelphia. And what this means is they won't steer you to just one mortgage option or to what's best for them. They work for you, not the banks. This is incredibly important because today's real estate market is ultra competitive. Prospective home buyers, perhaps just like you, are missing out on opportunities to win the perfect home because they don't have Mortgage CS in their corner. The mortgage company you choose matters more than ever. Even if you are already in the market, you can still explore your options with Mortgage CS. And if you do, you may be shocked at how much money you can save. Ben and Alec at Mortgage CS will ensure you have a rock-solid pre-approval, and they'll take the time to explore anything you want. That's why Mortgage CS is the mortgage concierge service. The real estate market is competitive, so you can rely on Mortgage CS to help you understand where you can be flexible in your offer to buy a home without taking on unnecessary risks. And that's, guys, it's scary buying a house. You're signing away maybe the next 30 years of your mortgage paying life, and there's just so much that goes into it. You have to have somebody you trust in your corner. And I'm telling you, Ben and the team at Mortgage CS are exactly that. And that's the reason people win more with Mortgage CS. So call or text Ben at 267-391-7425 to see for yourself. You can also go to mortgagecs.com/PHLY to check them out or view the 370 plus perfect 5-star reviews by searching Mortgage CS right now. Plug it in your Google machine. Just search Mortgage CS. Click on the little review thing. I bet you're going to like what you see. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information. All right, let's get to some more questions here. I like this next one from Seth, talking about goalie interference and all the controversy we've seen over the last couple of days. Seth asks, why when a player directly affects the goalie's ability to play their position, it's goaltender interference, but when a player pushes another player into the goalie, basically doing the same thing, all bets are off? The thing about goalie interference is all bets are off all the time. Like, nobody really seems to have a rock-solid explanation for it. And the thing about the explanation you give, Seth, is it's very funny, the interpretation that was used on the Sam Bennett play last night, because it's in the rule book that if an opponent pushes a defenseman into his own goalie, that still counts as goalie interference. Now, the explanation we got on 32 Thoughts today, if you haven't listened, Elliot Friedman, Jeff Marek, it's 32 Thoughts is the National Hockey Podcast. It's the one everyone listens to, especially us members of the media. Two explanations. One, the NHL badly just doesn't want to take goals off the board. You have to show us why it isn't a goal. Basically, you have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, all right, man, we just can't count this. If we have an opportunity to count it, we're going to. Second, they don't believe Swayman could have made the save with or without the interference. They kind of equated it to the uncatchable rule in the NFL, where it's like, yeah, that could have been pass interference, but the throw was so far over the dude's head. We're not throwing a flag, man. Like this is a non-play. It just isn't happening. I don't always love that explanation because give the goalie a shot. We've seen, I mean, some of the saves we've seen Bobrovsky make, some of the saves we've seen this entire postseason are phenomenal. I always think of that Brian Boucher in the 2000 Eastern Final, falling back, loses the helmet. Like, just never count out a desperate goalie and his willingness to tear every ligament in his body to keep a puck out of the net in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But that's kind of the explanation we got. They basically are like, yeah, I don't think he would have made the save anyway. And so that's where we are with that one. I'll tell you what's kind of crazy, crazier than that one, because you're right. Like, all bets are kind of off on all goalie interference. We just don't know. We just don't know what they're going to take into account on a base-by-base basis when it comes to goalie interference. I'll tell you, though, the Sam Bennett hit on Brad Marchand I find so interesting. I think it's going on right now, or was at least right before we went live. The press conference with Don Sweeney wanted to address the media, but he immediately said, like, listen, we know if we criticize the officials, we're going to get fined. So it didn't seem like he was going to take it all that far. But according to him and Jim Montgomery, they didn't see the reverse angle of the Bennett hit on Marchand until, like, today. He absolutely punched Marchand in the face. Like, not a doubt about it. Says he's bracing for contact. His glove is up and shielding the view of the official with the far glove, punches Marchand straight in the face. And listen, it's playoff hockey. Shit happens. And Brad Marchand, like, you know, we're going to play the world's smallest violin for you. Like, we don't, like, sorry, bro. Live by the sword, die by the sword, etc. It's playoff hockey. You have very little room to complain. You're the big bad Bruins. Stuff's going to happen to you too. And this is kind of a matchup of two rat teams. The Bruins and the Panthers are both just kind of a bunch of rats running around out there, and some violent shit is going to happen. But it's crazy that there's going to be no discipline for this, considering he punched him in the face and an injury resulted in it. That's just kind of wild that there's not even going to be a fine, I don't think. That's pretty... That was a pretty bad one. But again, it's playoff hockey. Stuff happens. It seems as if the league moved on real fast. Like, yeah, nothing to see here. But what really made me laugh is Sam Bennett's explanation. Like, man, the game is moving that fast. I'm not thinking... I couldn't possibly have thought through this thing to be able to do that in the amount of time that occurred. And I think to a lot of people that makes sense. Like, me thinking about my shit hockey career, you know, playing South Jersey high school. Yeah, I was just reacting out there. I had no idea what I was doing second to second. I would see puck, chase puck. Like, yeah, because I'm not a high-level athlete of any kind. I'll tell you, though, that explanation doesn't hold up to me when you hear dudes break down, like, what they see in a 2-on-1 situation and the different thoughts they have when they're coming in on a goalie, and their ability to break these things down in milliseconds. I mean, you ask a guy what he saw, like, ask Claude Giroux about a random goal he scored or a random assist he picked up on a nice play 5-10 years ago. And they're able to, like, all right, so he was showing me this, so I did this, and then suddenly he comes back at me, so I'm able to, you know, drop it back to a guy who I knew was coming, and then finally, you know, we tic-tac-toe across, and then I find Wayne Simmons in the back. Like, their ability to break these things down in the moment is so high level. I love that Sam Bennett went with that defense, because it's pretty, like, it's pretty good to, like, fool most people, but I just don't think it holds up when you hear any player, like, break down if they actually want to take the time to explain to you, because most guys don't. They're just like, yeah, man, we got pucks deep and we got pucks on net and we were able to. But when they actually take the time to explain what they're doing and seeing out there, you realize, like, oh, he absolutely knew what he was doing. And maybe it's a split-second decision. Like, I can get my glove up and catch him, but he knew what he was doing. And, again, it's playoff hockey. It's Brad Marchand. You're going to take the shots you take. Someone's going to throw some at you a few times. That's kind of wild as well. But I just wanted to get all that in when we talked about the goalie interference, because there's been a lot of controversy. What was the other one? Oh, the Zadorov and Evander Kane penalty last night. A lot of people just don't like Evander Kane, so they want to say, like, he kicked Zadorov on purpose when he tossed him into the bench. And maybe he did. I'd like to think dudes aren't trying to kill each other out there. Like, they're trying to hurt each other, but I don't know if they're swinging skates at each other. I'll say Zadorov spent a lot of time, it seemed, pushing him further down into the bench. Now, maybe he was held, and that's why there was a bench minor also called on Edmonton, but it seemed like there was a little extra there. I thought that was kind of all fair, and, like, Kane's legs are up in the air a while. Eventually, they have to come down, right? Like, Zadorov, maybe he's being held, maybe he's getting a little extra shot in there, but I don't want to think like, oh, he's trying to slice his neck. Like, I just don't. I didn't see that either. All right, let's go to the next question. Let's go to Angelo Masso. Do you think it is realistic to use Florida's first and a player to move up into the 11 to 14 range for a second pick out of that second tier? If we could entice Buffalo somehow, it would be a draft day dream to end up with Berkeley Catton and then either Cole Iserman or one of the defensemen. Yeah, I think it's definitely I think it is definitely a possibility, and a team like Buffalo is a great target. I look at Buffalo, I look at Ottawa, I look at the teams that were supposed to be more this past season. And I think you can kind of, maybe not rip them off, because you are giving them a first-round pick and a decent, at least, player. But I can't imagine these teams are super excited. Like, okay, well, we have another guy who's going to be maybe a contributor or even maybe a difference maker for us, but in 3 to 4 years. Yeah, you always want, like, the pipeline of guys coming, because it's a capped league. You need the constant pipeline. Otherwise, your window closes a lot sooner than you want it to. But teams like Buffalo are looking to just open their window. They're just trying to get into the goddamn playoffs. So whether it's, maybe they're not so pleased with their core and you can steal one of their center prospects or one of their pretty good NHL defensemen. I have my eye on Owen Power. Or maybe it's moving up in the draft, getting that 11th pick from them, something like that, for, whatever the Florida pick ends up being, something in the 20s, probably 28. And whether it's Scott Lawton, whether it's a Risto. I mean, Buffalo probably not trading for Risto. That's just a name. But maybe it's Travis Konecny and 11. Like, what does that get you? Travis Konecny and, the Florida pick, whatever. Like, what does that get you? Maybe it gets you a player in a pick. I don't know. But I am very interested, and I think it is realistic, especially if teams kind of have the same board as the Flyers, where it's, well, we don't necessarily love any of these guys. Maybe we do trade down and we get a player for right now, and we still get a pick in the 20s, and that's fine. Maybe the Flyers have to throw in like a second as well. We know they have the 4 seconds over the next 2 years, something like that. I do think it is very realistic. Now, Charlie and I have both been through this. You look up the last, I don't know how many, let's say 10 drafts. I think I went back to 2014. Trades into the top 10 rarely happen. I don't know if they're going to be able to, especially like get up to 6 or 7 or something like that. But I do think maybe that 11th pick is, maybe you have back-to-back picks there at 11 and 12. Something in that range is a way to do it. You all know my guy is Carter Yakimchuk. Yes, it's mostly based on name. Also, if he's physical, has the size and the puck skill that it seems as if this dude has. If they just develop him a little bit, he could maybe be a top pair defenseman. They badly need one of those. I'm very much on board with the idea of trying to get up and come away with more than one guy from this core of this, as Charlie broke it down, like the prospect tiers, it's basically, the top pick is going to be what it is. And then 2 to 13, let's say, basically all the same. After Macklin Celebrini, it's 11, 12 guys who might grade out pretty close to each other as prospects. Yeah, let's get 2, because we all know prospects don't hit at the rate we want them to. I mean, look at what we thought this Flyers defense was going to be just a few years ago after the, 2012, 13, 14 drafts, 15, and then what it is now. It didn't work out. Get 2 shots at a couple of these guys, and maybe one of them does become a difference maker for you, and another one is, yeah, he's a nice little player. Maybe you get a couple of shots there. So I do think it's realistic. I do think it's possible, especially targeting a team like Buffalo, as Angelo suggested, because they have to be looking to turn the corner. It's not about futures for them, I wouldn't think. It's about dudes for now. It's about getting in the playoffs and finally getting this core of young players. Like I've said so many times, I think they had 10 straight top 10 picks. It's about getting them some freaking playoff experience and finally taking the next step in their rebuild. You know what? I bet a lot of Buffalo fans would love to be able to do. Use Game Time to get playoff tickets. Wouldn't that be nice for them? I bet they'd be dying for that, rather than just using it to say, I don't know, resell their tickets against the Maple Leafs to try to make a bunch of their money back. Actually using it to acquire tickets to the postseason, well, that would probably be pretty huge for them. But we don't have that problem here in Philadelphia right now either. We're not exactly in the playoffs, but what we do have is a great baseball team, and that's awesome because Game Time is the place for last-minute MLB ticket deals. You know about the killer last-minute deals, plus they have the all-in pricing. See what you're going to pay before you click like 12 buttons and finally get to the checkout. And it's like, oh, wow, it's going to be $10, $20, $30 more than I expected. No, you see all the fees, everything up front with Game Time when the all-in pricing and the views from your seat. Not only do you see what you're going to pay, you see what you're going to be watching and where you're going to be watching from with the seat view. And don't forget about the low price guarantee. All this takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And the flash deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. With Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Love me some Game Time. Let's see, where were we? All right, that was Angelo's question, trading into that maybe 10, 11 to 14 range. I'm all for it, and I do think it's realistic. Let's go to Timbo Slice. Do you think the Flyers take on another former player in an office/coach role? I mean, it's always possible. You know, the Berube rumors, I don't think those are going to work out. He did just interview in Toronto, I believe, on Saturday, I heard, and Jersey's interested. But I think they're always looking to expand their coaching and scouting and front office. This is one of the areas where the Flyers have the competitive advantage. You know, for years prior to the salary cap, it was just like, well, the Flyers can spend more money on players than anybody. That's not the case anymore. There's a limit on how much you're allowed to spend, of course, until the playoffs. Tampa Bay and Vegas can just spend $120 million, and it is what it is. But in the regular season, you got to be cap compliant. So the Flyers don't have that competitive advantage anymore. But there is no cap on how much you can spend on coaches, front office personnel, scouts, an analytics department, whatever it could be. So, yeah, I think they're always looking to improve the team in those ways. What former player or something it's going to be, who's to say? I mean, I didn't see Patrick Sharp rejoin the organization when he did last year. John LeClaire, I love having him part of the family. I know they've at least talked to Eric Lindros some about joining this organization in some sort of capacity, whether it would be, I don't know if it would be in player development or more of an ambassador role. I have no idea, but it's always cool to get the stars involved, the big name guys. And personally, I would just like to see Eric Lindros around more. I think that would be really cool. Maybe they go the other route and bring in, like, I don't know, Donald Brashear. Let's teach all the kids how to fight more, you know? We're going to have, some smaller guys like Jamie Drysdale and Matvei Michkov, maybe some foreign dudes where the fighting and physicality isn't as much part of their game, like Samu Tuamala, Emil Andre. Maybe we bring in a dude who can teach the guys to protect themselves a little bit better. So maybe they're not getting punched in the face by Sam Bennett when they're finally in the playoffs and they're up to the task there. But you never know. I wouldn't put it past the Flyers. I mean, it's the Flyers. We've always called it the good old boys network here, and for good reason. They believe in once a Flyer, always a Flyer. You're part of the family, and I'm for that as well. Maybe they hold on to guys a little long, and I think we have a question about that in a bit. But, I wouldn't be shocked if we hear, a name join the organization at some point this summer. That wouldn't surprise me. All right, what's this next name? Ekimnosnhoj12 I don't know. I can't read whatever. It just seems like a combination of letters that don't form a word, but I'm also not the best reader. Could the Flyers culture be restored without humiliating players and their families? Is Torts the best coach for the rest of the rebuild? I don't know who's been humiliated. I mean, you're going to get called out sometimes. You're going to get benched sometimes. I haven't agreed with everything Torts has done. I'm more worried about the coach when the team is good. Like, I've used the example the last game of the season where, your second leading scorer, Morgan Frost, points per game, and maybe he was third, but I think he was second in points per game, and Bobby Brink, who was, I think, eighth in points per game, they both sit the final 30 minutes in a game in which you had to score because you needed to win in regulation. Like Sam Ersson says, well, we started the game down 1-0, and that was basically the situation. You had to win in, the regular 60 minutes, and the coach chose to bench those two guys when the team absolutely needed to score. I don't want to be dealing with that when this team is good. Like, that's not something I want to have to deal with. I don't think Torts is going to be the best possible coach when this team is taking the next step. But to toughen up this room, to instill the right culture, yeah, I do think he is. I don't think anyone's been humiliated. Like, I don't think anyone has gone home in tears over any of this. Like, the Sanheim situation may have been a lack of judgment. That was a year ago, and it looks like everything's okay coming out of the Sanheim situation. The dude had the best year of his career. He's the team's #1 defenseman right now. He was pretty damn good following that scratch against the Flames last year, and I get, like, he had family and friends there. That was probably sucked for him to find out by text. But they had a conversation about it, and it is what it is. Like, not every boss is your best friend. I've said this before. I've had a lot of jobs, and I was McNulty at a lot of them. Fuck the bosses. But you still go and do your job. This team needs, yes, the #1 thing this team is missing, absolutely, high-end skill. Really great players. That is what this team needs. Obviously, we know Michkov is on his way. Hopefully, they get another high-end player or two in this coming draft. They need a 1C. They need a first-pair defenseman. These things are absolutely true. They do need toughening up, though. Like, we've just seen them have too many times where adversity gets the best of them, and they need to learn to get over that. And I think John Tortorella is absolutely the dude for that. The next step, I'm not convinced that's what Tortorella's forte is at this point in his career. It's been a long time since 2004. we've had like 3 work stoppages since then. You know, there's been CBAs and different networks the teams are on. Just the game has changed a lot. I don't know if Torts is the coach for the next step, but I'm fine with him in this one. All right, let's go to Sean O. Kind of a question along the same lines. What's the vibe check on concerns about this tight-knit locker room quitting on Torts and possibly the front office if too many guys they like are moved this offseason? How much of a setback are we looking at if they need to change coaches or overhaul a disgruntled roster? The thing about that is this locker room, to me, has run out of the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't know, man. 4 straight years out of the playoffs. We've been through so many coaches. I just don't. Okay, if you don't want to play for this team, who do you want to play for? Like, just get over it and go do your job. I very much am on the side of the players most of the time. I just think if you aren't able to understand the business of this thing, like, at the end of the day, you missed the playoffs. What did you accomplish? Oh, we need to keep this team together because why? Look at the teams that finished ahead of you. The Islanders and Capitals stink. They got bounced in the first round so fast, I barely even saw their games. Like, it was in and out. Boom. Those teams were not good. They finished ahead of the Flyers. What has anyone on this roster ever done to deserve accommodating? I don't know. Like, you know, if they're going to quit on this coach, I want to know about that now. Because if it's not this coach, it'll be the next one. And I can't wait to move on from a guy who quits, because that means they're quitters. If you have that in you, like, man, I just don't. You have to accomplish something before you demand something. Like, oh, well, we need this and this. You know what I need to watch? A fucking home playoff game in the second round. You show me a home playoff game in the second round, and we can talk. And this is bare minimum shit I'm saying here. I'm not saying go to an Eastern Conference final. I'm not saying win a Stanley Cup. I'm saying play a home game in the second round of the playoffs for the first time in 12 or 13 years. That's it. Nobody here has accomplished that on this team, so nobody gets, oh, the coach is mean to me, so I'm not going to try my hardest. Good. See ya. Like, that's all it's going to be. If you don't want to be a Flyer, you're not going to be a Flyer. Danny and Jonesy said it during the Cutter Gauthier situation, and that's the way it should be for everyone. That's what they're trying to figure out, is who has it and who doesn't. John Tortorella, in my mind, a big part of his job is keeping a list. One side of this list is has it. One side of this list is doesn't. And anyone who falls under that doesn't side, I'm good. See you later, bro. I don't care how long you've been here. I don't care if you have a letter on your sweater. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how complicated it will be to get rid of you. You're not going to be part of the next great Flyers team. So hasta luego. Let's go to a question from Clarky. Clarky, you're the former Flyer I want to see. Let's get back to the days where Bob Clark would just show up at the practice facility and teach dudes how to take face-offs. Now, this question is from Clarky. He says, let's say that they decide to move Travis Konecny. I don't really want to get into whether it's a good idea or not. I feel like that's been debated enough. I agree, Clarky. What's a fair return for the guy, and what teams could toss out an offer, maybe even overpay? See, that's a great question, because it's all about what sort of team. Like we mentioned the Ottawa and Buffalo kind of teams. I think they would be willing to trade futures or prospects, future assets, draft picks, or young prospects, maybe guys a couple years in the league, maybe guys who haven't quite made it to the league yet. I think that's what you're looking for from those teams that are more in a win now mode, that have those future assets. Then you look at a team like, we've been talking about it to death, but it's the easiest example, a Toronto Maple Leafs, where they're looking to just shake shit up. They are looking for change for the sake of change, and it might not even be a bad idea. Like, sometimes the change of scenery thing is real, and you're able to get, like, it wouldn't just be 1-for-1. That would be insane. you'd have to throw in some more stuff. But like Konecny for Mitch Marner, Konecny plus some other shit, some pretty good stuff. It's not going to come cheap, but for like a Mitch Marner, and then there's teams like Anaheim who might have the same kind of time frame as the Flyers, but as we saw with them willing to part ways with Jamie Drysdale, you know what? They have a ton of defensemen. So we're able to, okay, well, we need a defenseman. You want Cutter Gauthier? Here, we'll take one of those defensemen. A trade like that where another team is kind of in your situation. So I think it's all about that kind of team. Someone I'm very interested in how they handle this offseason is Utah, the Utah NHL team. We'll call them the Utah Soakers for right now. I always love when I can make Bryn laugh. I'm like, all right, jokingly, I did good stuff. Like, I have no idea what they're going to want to do, but I do know a new team in a new market needs to impress their fans to compete for dollars in that market, especially a team that has, they have the Jazz in the same building. You are competing for those people's money. Most people don't have money for both. Oh, yeah, well, we're going to have Jazz tickets and we're going to have, Utah Soakers tickets. Okay, so that means you need to be at least pretty good. Would they be interested in a Travis Konecny, a kind of a no-name, not a star, but like a borderline all-star? A guy goes mostly because every team needs a representative, but like a borderline all-star like Travis Konecny, what would they be willing to give up? They have a lot of good prospects and young NHL players. Maybe you're able to pry something loose from them. So I think it's all about the type of team, whether it's maybe Toronto or an Edmonton or something that needs to shake things up, or a team on a similar timeline as you that just has a glut of one thing and needs another. It'll be interesting to see. So thank you for that question, Clarky. Let's go to Amy. This is a fun one. What are your favorite player names / nicknames, current, all-time, whatever? My favorite genre of nickname is something that you would actually call a guy. And I guess like G and stuff like that is kind of boring. But like I can absolutely see myself being like, hey, Animal, yo, Rocket. Like stuff like that I think are great nicknames. Like Little Ball of Hate, that's fun, but I heard John Buccigross say this once, I think, and it was like, I'm never tapping my stick on the ice like, over here, Little Ball of Hate, over here, hit me with the pass, one-timer, Little Ball of Hate. Like, that's never gonna be a thing I call somebody. Like, I think the best names, like Dave the Hammer Schultz, like, exactly what that fucking dude does. If you've never watched hockey before and I say, Dave the Hammer Schultz, I bet you he hits people. And yes, he does. He hits people like a hammer. Stuff like that. Like, I think those are great names. Like Frank the Animal Bialovis. You know exactly what he's doing out there. Oh, he's an animal. Yes. Yes, he is. Like, those are a combination of something I would call you. And maybe if it plays off your nickname, like I could Jumbo Joe. That's good stuff. Things like that. Player nicknames, I need to think longer about this one, but I think I have some good examples. Let's go to FranzkeLA. Who wins a Royal Rumble between the head coaches of the 8 remaining teams? Man, Rick Tocchet's a badass. It's really hard not to go with, like, that guy. That said, I mean, Rod Brendamore is probably in better shape than, like, 2/3 of the players still active in the league. But Tocchet just looks like he would fuck you up, doesn't he? He just looks like a scary kind of guy. I would say don't underestimate Jim Montgomery. He looks like he can still go a little bit. I mean, he was on those Phantoms teams. Those 98 Phantoms teams were no joke in terms of toughness. I mean, everybody could go on those squads. But I guess the easy answer is Tocchet. It's hard not to go with Toc. I mean, Paul Maurice looks tough. I don't think Jared Bednar has much of a chance. Like, Chris Knobloch, I don't know. Well, I don't see it. I don't know about Nobler. I have to go with the chalk answer, and it's Tocchet. But maybe, like, if we're talking Royal Rumble, you know, the strategy in the Rumble is always like, okay, well, there's Andre the Giant. Everyone has to team up on him first. Okay, so we got the favorite out. Like, it's going to be 7-on-1 against Tocchet, maybe. And then we go from there. You know what? I'm going to say Jim Montgomery, because I think he's still young enough, and he's enough of a badass that he would survive early. And then once they get Tocchet out, it's a more even playing field. So I'm gonna go with Montgomery. Maybe Montgomery has been drinking the Olipop. You know, maybe he's got that good gut health going on, because Olipop is the world's first functional soda. I don't know. Olipop is the world's first functional soda with a classic soda taste and the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients to support your gut health. Olipop is a new kind of soda with only 2 to 5 grams of sugar plus 9 grams of fiber per can. 2 out of every 3 Americans say they suffer from digestive issues, and 95% of Americans don't get the daily recommended amount of fiber. Olipop is tackling both these issues with a drink that tastes just like soda. Prebiotic fiber is the food source for the beneficial probiotic bacteria in your gut, and Olipop has 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can that can help support your digestive health. And Olipop is available online as well as in 30,000 retailers nationwide, including the most recent launch at all Wawa stores. That's right. Now you can get your sandwich, you can get your snack, and you can get a delicious drink that tastes just like soda, but with way more health benefits. That's right. So, and the 2 flavors debuting at Wawa, classic root beer and the strawberry vanilla. I've been telling you about the strawberry vanilla, but you know Jamie Lynch. I was like, wait, who? Yeah, he's been experimenting with some different drinks over at the PHLY Phillies for some extra content. They've been mixing up some different mixed beverages. He's a former bartender, and he actually made the Chaos Agent, the strawberry vanilla Olipop with tequila. He said it was excellent. He took my advice, threw a lime in there, thought it needed a little citrus, and he loved it. Said he's going to be making it again. So don't just take it from me. Take it from Jamie as well. So that's what you can do. You know, we'll talk about the health benefits all you want, but you want something you can drink and maybe use as a mixer. I mean, it's soda after all. Well, little strawberry vanilla from Wawa, little tequila. I think you'll enjoy it. And you can use the code PHLY20 right now at drinkolipop.com for 20% off the next order. The discount only applies to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. You can also find it online at Amazon, as well as in 30,000 retailers nationwide, including Wawa, Target, Sprouts, Wegmans, ShopRite, and GoPuff. Personally, why not use promo code PHLY20 at drinkolipop.com? Get that 20% off. All right, where did we leave off? Let's go to Jimmy Puckets. If this is a fun one, coming off of the conversation we just had. If you go on a weekend bender with a current Flyers player, who would it be? You meet at a local bar Friday at 11 a.m. and just go off. Just let it rip for the next 2 days. Go wherever the wind takes you. See, this is it's a great question, because, like, I'd want to hang out with the younger guys and just have, like, a rip-roaring good time. But really, like, I'm almost 36 years old. Like, I might just fit in better with, like, Cam Atkinson and Sean Couturier and, like, I don't know, maybe Ryan Johansson, someone like that. But just looking at, how can I not choose Nick Delorier? Like, I mean, he's going to have some of the best stories. He's the fighter. It's the role I would want if I could play in the NHL. He's kind of close to my age. Like, yeah, it would be fun to hang out with, like, Tyson Forster and those dudes, but I got, like, a dozen years on some of these guys. They're not going to want to hang out with me. Like, it's not like I'm let's pump him for stories. Like, I'm not a professional athlete. Like, what are we going to talk about? Like, TikTok dances? I don't know this shit. Like, I don't know what you're into. You say a lot of words I don't understand. I'd have to probably go with someone from my generation. So I'm gonna go with Nick Delorier. I think he'd be my guy to hang out with. I just think maybe some of the young guys. It would be fun, but what the hell are we gonna for 2 days? This is like a 2 to 3 day bender. Like, what the fuck am I gonna talk to like Cam York about? I have no idea, bro. So we're gonna go with Nick Delorier on this one. This one from Mike Y, I think, is just funny. Who will be the Eagles' starting right guard in Week 1? I don't get to talk other sports that much anymore. I'm gonna say Week 1, it's gonna be Tyler Steen, but that's not who it's gonna be by the end of the year. I meant to look this up before we started, but I had like actual hockey shit to do. Whoever the guard they drafted is, maybe he doesn't start right away, but I think by the end of the year, we could have a situation where Steen is out, or maybe they move him, one of the tackles gets hurt or something, and then the different right guard by the end of the year. I'm going to say Steen to start. Let's go with colinxcorley. I'm a big fan of players having a signature celebration like the Yager salute, the Briere underhand fist pump. What should Michkov's signature celly be when he arrives to the NHL this season? Love the optimism, Colin. But thinking about this, I would love to see something very, like, maybe it's just something simple, like the sheathing the stick. Like you just put it like the sword, right into the sheath. Maybe he pays tribute to Danny with the fist pump. And he goes low and comes high with the fist pump, just as the GM who drafted him. Maybe he pays tribute there. I'm hoping to see a little bit more of that. The league needs stuff like that, like the Yager salute, man. I mean, when other players are ripping it off and suddenly, his teammates are coming at you, like it's stuff like that that adds to the personality of the game. Can make a playoff series just a little bit more intense. I think things like that make the game better. So I'm hoping he has one. And that's. I'm gonna say I want him to pay tribute to the GM that drafted him with the fist pump. All right, let's see if we can get a couple more. Oh wow, it's 2:01 already. Time flies, huh? All right. What should we end with? Let's just talk about this one from Springflower Apple. What do you think the percentage chance is that the Flyers pull off a trade for Brady Tkachuk? What would be a realistic trade package? Look like going off the assumption Ottawa is willing to move him? I think it's very unlikely they're willing to move Brady Tkachuk. I just don't know why. The only reason is like he doesn't want to stay. He's like Matt, and he's like, you know what? I kind of want to play in America. That's why he would then be like, oh, yes, I want to play for the Flyers. I don't know. But I find it very unlikely Ottawa would be willing to move one of their premier players. A realistic trade package, it's not going to be anything you like. I mean, it's not going to be Hagen a third, I'll tell you that. It's maybe Konecny, Oliver Bonk, and more. I don't know enough about what Ottawa's looking for, but they have to be looking to like upgrade their team. I can't believe it would be a ton of futures outside of maybe a highly touted prospect like Bonk maybe, but I think it's going to be more than we're willing to give up is my assumption. They probably have enough defense, so they're looking at forwards. Like it might be Konecny Forster, Konecny Farabee, something like that, and then other stuff too, whether it be prospects or picks, whatever. But I just don't know if the Flyers have what Ottawa wants, quite honestly. And even if they did, I don't know why Ottawa would be willing to trade him. All right, before we get out of here, I got to tell you about Coors Light, baby. That's right, the ice-cold Coors Light. It's Monday. No one loves a Monday. But you know what's great? Being done work on a Monday, like I am right now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to find the Blue Mountains in the back of my fridge and enjoy an ice cold Coors Light, because it's time to chill, Betty. It's time to chill, baby. And there's no better way to chill than with an ice cold Coors Light. So whether you're freaking out about how the Flyers can possibly upgrade, whether Torts is the right coach for this team, or maybe you're watching the playoffs and just going, I don't know how, Nikita Zadorov got called for that penalty. I don't know how Sam Bennett isn't going to be suspended. Well, just chill, man. Just chill and enjoy the playoffs with the ice cold Coors Light. When you choose to rise above it all, choose chill, choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, that will do it for us today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to follow us right here on the YouTube page. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a live show. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. If you want to be featured in the mailbag of the day, Charlie doesn't want to do full mailbags anymore, so we're going to do one question a day. Hit us up on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. Today was a bit of an aberration because I had to talk to myself for an hour, and we did it. So thank you all for contributing there. And follow the podcast, PHLY Flyers, wherever you get those. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsor, Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. That'll do it for me. My name's Bill Matz. Kelly will be with me tomorrow. Till then, stay loose and sexy, Philly.
We all silly like the mayor.